about emotional investment. Because once a relationship gets wrapped around a child, public stop calling this Cardi B defending Stefon Diggs. That label is too soft. This is Cardi B walking into a burning room with a gallon of gasoline, striking a match, and then acting shocked that every eye in the building followed the flame. Because the ugliest part of this mess is not even the allegation anymore. The ugliest part is the choice. The deliberate, loud, reckless choice to turn a legal fight into a public loyalty test and then dare the internet to pick a side. Cardi B did not just post a comment. Cardi B did not just clap back. Cardi B did not just speak from the heart. Cardi B made a move that changes the whole conversation. Because once Cardi B jumps into a case like this, the story stops being only about Stefon Diggs and Christopher Blake. The story becomes about power, image, influence, and the very public way a superstar can accidentally become the unpaid crisis manager for a man who has not even stepped up to carry that burden alone. And that is the mirror nobody wants to stare into. Because look at the board. Christopher Blake is online making fun of the chaos, posting slick little jabs, throwing shade with a grin, and practically begging for a response. Stefon Diggs stays quiet. Stefon Diggs does not jump into the middle of the comment section swinging. Stefon Diggs does not give the internet a master class in damage control. Stefon Diggs does not grab the megaphone. Cardi B grabs the megaphone. Cardi B grabs the spotlight. Cardi B grabs the emotional risk. And the second Cardi B does that, Cardi B also grabs ownership of the backlash. That is why this story feels bigger than one messy exchange. This is not romance. This is reputation laundering in real time. And before anybody starts screaming that loyalty is admirable, slow down. Loyalty is one thing. Publicly trying to discredit an accuser in the loudest room possible while a legal situation hangs in the air is a completely different beast. Loyalty can be private. Loyalty can be strategic. Loyalty can be careful. This was none of those things. This was loud, emotional, impulsive, and timed in a way that makes every single person watching ask the same question. Why is Cardi B fighting this hard in public when Stefon Diggs has the money, the lawyers, the name, and the reason to fight personally? That question is the whole engine of this video. Because if Stefon Diggs is as innocent as Cardi B wants the public to believe, why does Cardi B look more motivated than Stefon Diggs? Why does Cardi B sound more urgent than Stefon Diggs? Why does Cardi B look more desperate to win the comment section than Stefon Diggs looks desperate to clear the air? When a public figure starts sprinting harder than the accused, the internet notices. And once the internet notices, the internet starts connecting dots that maybe were not even on the board 5 minutes earlier. That is where this gets dangerous for Cardi B. Not because Cardi B cannot speak. Cardi B can speak on anything Cardi B wants. Not because Cardi B cannot defend a relationship. Cardi B can defend any relationship Cardi B wants. The danger is the frame. The danger is that every comment Cardi B drops makes Cardi B look less like a woman standing on principle and more like a woman burning through public goodwill for a man whose own pattern already makes people deeply uneasy. That is the real scandal here. Public capital is being spent like casino chips. And the worst part? The payout does not even belong to Cardi B. Look at the emotional math. Cardi B spent years building a certain kind of audience bond. Cardi B is messy, funny, magnetic, impulsive, outrageous, charming, and brutally entertaining. That mix works because fans can forgive a lot when fans feel like the vulnerability is real. Fans will ride with talent. Fans will ride with humor. Fans will even ride through chaos if the chaos feels honest. But the second a star starts looking cruel toward a possible victim, the chemistry changes. The room changes. The laughter dries up. The same audience that once cheered the raw honesty starts wondering where the empathy went. That is why this moment hits different. Cardi B knows what public smears feel like. Cardi B knows what public humiliation feels like. Cardi B knows what it feels like when private pain turns into a spectator sport. So when Cardi B jumps into a case and starts swatting at an accuser instead of stepping back and letting evidence talk, The contradiction is so loud that even people who want to defend Cardi B start sounding tired. That contradiction is the hidden villain of this whole story. Not Christopher Blake. Not even Stefon Diggs. The hidden villain is the contradiction between the empathy Cardi B once demanded and the empathy Cardi B now seems unwilling to extend. And contradictions kill celebrity narratives faster than scandals do. Scandals can be managed. Contradictions stick. Because scandals live in headlines, but contradictions live in memory. Think about how the public reads behavior. The public does not sit in court. The public watches patterns. The public watches tone. The public watches timing. The public watches who speaks, who stays quiet, who looks defensive, who looks rattled, who looks too eager, who looks weirdly invested, who looks like a person protecting truth, and who looks like a person protecting access. Right now, Cardi B does not look calm. Cardi B does not look above the noise. Cardi B looks personally activated in a way that raises the heat around Stefon Diggs instead of lowering it. That is the trap. Every time Cardi B tries to put out the fire, Cardi B accidentally adds oxygen. Because the internet hears a comment like, "Stop lying on people," and the internet does not say, "Wow, case closed." The internet says, if the receipts are that strong, where are the receipts? If the proof is that obvious, why is the proof not carrying the conversation? And intentional chaos is even more alarming than messy chaos. So let's get brutally honest. What if Cardi B is not really trying to convince the public that Christopher Blake is lying? What if Cardi B is trying to convince Cardi B? What if this entire public performance is less about evidence an original problem never disappears, but a brand new problem explodes on top of it? That is exactly what everybody is watching. And there is another layer people are missing. Cardi B is not only talking to Christopher Blake. Cardi B is talking to fans, to enemies, to gossip channels, to future juror-shaped minds in the public, to every person waiting to decide whether Cardi B is authentic or just reactive. That means every sentence has multiple audiences. Every sentence lands differently. Every sentence can solve one problem and create 3 new ones. That is why impulsive celebrity commentary is so dangerous in cases like this. A star can feel powerful while typing and still walk straight into a reputational trap built out of timing, optics, and ego. And that trap is snapping shut. Because the internet is already moving past the literal words and into the meaning behind the words. The internet is asking why Cardi B sounds personally offended by the allegation itself. The internet is asking why MO. Embarrassment, loyalty, private promises, future plans, and all the little lies people tell themselves to keep the machine running. Stepping back becomes expensive. Not financially. Psychologically. Emotionally. Spiritually. The truth can cost more than the fantasy. And sometimes the loudest defense is not proof. Sometimes the loudest defense is panic wearing designer clothes. That is the angle nobody in the competitor lane touched. Everybody else is arguing about whether Christopher Blake is truthful, whether Stefon Diggs is guilty, whether fans are doing too much, whether social media is too invested. All of that matters. But the deeper story is this. Cardi B may be acting like a witness for the defense while really fighting a war against humiliation. Because humiliation changes people. Humiliation makes smart people do clumsy things. Humiliation makes famous people overperform certainty. Humiliation makes public figures defend positions that do not even make long-term sense, just to avoid the unbearable image of being fooled in public again. That is why this is not just gossip. This is ego preservation with millions of spectators. And ego preservation is one of the most expensive substances on earth. Look at the sequencing. First there is the allegation cloud. Then there is the commentary storm. Then Christopher Blake keeps baiting. Then Cardi B answers. Then the internet stops asking what Stefon Diggs did and starts asking why Cardi B keeps volunteering for this role. That shift matters. Because the minute the camera tilts from the accused man to the defending superstar, the accused man wins something valuable. Distance. That is what I mean by reputation laundering. The emotional stain starts moving. Instead of the internet staring at Stefon Diggs and asking hard questions, the internet starts staring at Cardi B and asking why Cardi B sounds so mean, why Cardi B sounds so dismissive, why Cardi B sounds so comfortable attacking the person making the claim, why Cardi B sounds like a person who learned nothing from every public battle about sympathy, smears, and credibility. And in that moment, Stefon Diggs gets the most valuable gift in a scandal economy. A shield. A famous, charismatic, loud shield. A shield with hit records and a devoted fan base. A shield willing to absorb bullets that never should have been aimed at Cardi B in the first place. Now ask the ugly question. What does Cardi B get in return? Silence. That is what makes this whole thing feel so lopsided. If a woman is burning reputation calories for a man, the least a viewer expects is some visible reciprocity. Some public sign of equal risk. Some statement. Some direct ownership. Some energy that says, if Cardi B is standing in front, Stefon Diggs is standing right beside Cardi B. But that is not the image people are reading. The image people are reading is Cardi B on the front line and Stefon Diggs somewhere in the background letting Cardi B get pelted by every opinion on the internet. That image is devastating. Because once a woman starts looking like a one-person defense team for a man with resources, fans do not read devotion. Fans read imbalance. And imbalance is where sympathy turns into frustration. Frustration turns into mockery. Mockery turns into clips. Clips turn into narratives. Narratives turn into brand damage. That pipeline is ruthless, and Cardi B just stepped right into the center of it. Even worse, this whole mess hits a nerve because the public already believes Cardi B has a pattern of going harder for men than those men ever go for Cardi B. That perception may not tell the whole story, but public perception never waits for the whole story. Public perception takes one ugly moment, places that ugly moment next to old ugly moments, and builds a pattern wall in real time. Once that wall is up, every new comment becomes another brick. That is where the danger stops being temporary. Because temporary drama fades. Pattern narratives linger. And the pattern narrative forming here is brutal. Cardi B keeps risking dignity for men who keep leaving Cardi B holding the mess. Whether that reading is fair or not almost stops mattering once enough people believe it. And that is why the smartest move would have been silence. Not guilt silence. Strategy silence. Let the filings talk. Let the lawyers talk. Let Christopher Blake talk. Let Stefon Diggs talk. Let facts harden before emotions start sprinting. Instead, Cardi B walked into the exact kind of arena that punishes emotional overreach the hardest. The comment section, the screenshot economy, the clipped quote machine, the viral outrage loop where context dies and tone becomes the entire story. In that arena, Cardi B was never going to win big. At best, Cardi B could only survive. At worst, Cardi B would turn a messy allegation into a morality play about loyalty, victimhood, and selective compassion. Guess where the internet placed this? Exactly. A morality play. That is why this feels so combustible. People are not only reacting to content. People are reacting to symbolism. Cardi B is not just Cardi B in this moment. Cardi B is every talented woman the audience has watched excuse the wrong man. Stefon Diggs is not just Stefon Diggs in this moment. Stefon Diggs is every charming man who lets a woman take public hits on behalf of private loyalty. Christopher Blake is not just Christopher Blake in this moment. Christopher Blake is the human match being dragged across a pile of already dry wood. That is why this spreads. Not because every viewer knows facts. Because every viewer recognizes the emotional archetypes. And emotional archetypes travel faster than evidence ever will. Now let's talk about the biggest misread Cardi B may be making. Cardi B may think aggression signals confidence. Online, aggression often signals vulnerability. Especially when the issue is this sensitive. Especially when the issue involves a serious accusation. Especially when the person swinging is not even the person directly accused. The harder Cardi B pushes, the less settled Cardi B appears. The sharper Cardi B sounds, the less persuasive Cardi B becomes. The more contempt Cardi B shows, the more viewers start protecting Christopher Blake emotionally, whether viewers even know Christopher Blake or not. That is the boomerang effect. A defender pushes so hard that the audience starts sympathizing with the target of the push. And once that flip happens, no amount of anger can drag the room back. So now the script of the scandal rewrites itself. Scene 1. Accusation. Scene 2. Denial. Scene 3. Superstar defender enters stage left. Scene 4. Defender starts sounding harsher than the accused. Scene 5. Audience starts questioning the defender's motive. Scene 6. Defender becomes the headline. Scene 7. Original problem never disappears, but a brand new problem explodes on top of it. That is exactly what everybody is watching. And there is another layer people are missing. Cardi B is not only talking to Christopher Blake. Cardi B is talking to fans, to enemies, to gossip channels, to future juror-shaped minds in the public, to every person waiting to decide whether Cardi B is authentic or just reactive. That means every sentence has multiple audiences. Every sentence lands differently. Every sentence can solve one problem and create 3 new ones. That is why impulsive celebrity commentary is so dangerous in cases like this. A star can feel powerful while typing and still walk straight into a reputational trap built out of timing, optics, and ego. And that trap is snapping shut. Because the internet is already moving past the literal words and into the meaning behind the words. The internet is asking why Cardi B sounds personally offended by the allegation itself. The internet is asking why Cardi B sounds more enraged by the accusation than by the possibility that something ugly could have happened. The internet is asking why the instinct is not caution, not empathy, not distance, not legal restraint, but attack. Attack tells a story. Sometimes attack tells the wrong story. And once the wrong story becomes the dominant story, every cleanup attempt starts looking like proof of the original problem. That is the nightmare loop. Post. Backlash. Explain. More backlash. Defend the explanation. Screenshots multiply. Tone gets clipped. Motive gets questioned. Reputation bleeds. Meanwhile, the central legal issue remains unresolved. So the only thing fully materializing in real time is image damage. That is why this is such a bad trade. That is the scene people cannot unsee. And once a scene gets locked in the public mind, correcting the scene becomes almost impossible. That is why some moments are not about right or wrong. Some moments are about irreversible framing. This is one of those moments. Because years from now, most people will not remember every post, every caption, every response, every filing, every rumor. Most people will remember the vibe. The vibe that Cardi B looked ready to torch personal goodwill to protect Stefon Diggs. The vibe that Stefon Diggs let Cardi B do it. The vibe that Christopher Blake became the spark for a much uglier conversation about empathy and power. The vibe that nobody came out clean. That is how brand memory works. Not like a transcript. Like a bruise. And the bruise gets worse because this could have been avoided. A quiet statement could have avoided this. No statement could have avoided this. A legal-only strategy could have avoided this. Basic distance could have avoided this. But public emotion wanted center stage. So public emotion got center stage. And now public emotion is writing the reviews. Here is the most brutal part of all. That poison is spreading fast. So what are viewers really reacting to? Not just a scandal. Viewers are reacting to a hierarchy of sympathy. Viewers are reacting to who gets believed, who gets mocked, who gets protected, who gets weaponized, and who gets left holding the bag. Viewers are reacting to the possibility that Cardi B, intentionally or not, is helping build a wall around Stefon Diggs while tearing down the person making a claim. Viewers are reacting to the emotional memory of every time power laughed first and reflected later. That is why the comments feel so heated. That is why the clips keep moving. That is why this story is not dying. Because this is no longer a single scandal. This is a referendum on judgment. And right now, the judgment does not look good. Cardi B may still reverse the temperature. Cardi B may still step back. Cardi B may still let silence do the work that rage could not. But every extra public swing makes the climb back harder. Every extra jab deepens the contradiction. Every extra moment of visible contempt keeps feeding the exact narrative Cardi B should be starving. That narrative is simple, sharp, and deadly. Cardi B is risking too much for a man who is risking too little. And once the public compresses a scandal into one sentence that clean, the damage multiplies. So no, this is not just another celebrity mess. This is a reputation transfer. This is emotional overexposure. This is selective empathy caught on camera. This is a superstar accidentally volunteering to be the main character in a defense that should have never needed a pop cultural bodyguard. Most of all, this is a warning. When a public figure starts fighting harder than the accused, the public stops asking whether the accused is innocent and starts asking what the defender is so afraid to lose. That is the question hanging over Cardi B tonight. Not whether the internet is mean. The internet is always mean. Not whether gossip channels are messy. Gossip channels are built from mess. Not whether fans pick sides too fast. Fans have always picked sides too fast. The real question is why Cardi B looked at all of that, stepped right into the blast zone, and decided this was the hill worth bleeding on. Because if the answer is love, the optics are tragic. If the answer is pride, the optics are worse. If the answer is fear, the whole room can feel it. And when the whole room can feel fear, the room never forgets. That is why this moment matters. Not because the loudest post wins. Because the loudest post reveals. And what this reveal says is not flattering. It says Cardi B is not controlling the story. The story is controlling Cardi B. And that is when celebrity chaos stops being entertaining and starts being expected.